he was targeted, Anthony, 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the Saints knew what they were dealing with and were like, nah, we're good. On Friday, we picked 6 players who we thought would be most important to the outcome of Commanders and Saints. Jaden Daniels and the quarterbacks for the Saints were excluded because we just take that off the board. It's too easy. And Anthony had the number 1 pick.
Number 1.
And picked Brandon Coleman, Anthony. Brandon Coleman.
Yes, I chose Brandon Coleman in part to him being matched up with Chase Young. So I guess I can use this time to maybe talk about Chase Young's day. And I think when you have 2 sacks on the day, I think you had a solid outing. He also had a lot of pressures as well. He helped Cam Jordan also get one of his sacks in the game. But for the most part, I think Brandon Coleman played solid. I think he gave up 1 sack. I wouldn't say he gave up 2. I think one of them was a cover sack. But I don't know. The O-line struggled all day, to be honest. So, it was a mixed bag, I would say.
Yeah, mixed bag is nice. I don't think
Is that too generous?
I don't think Coleman had a very good game. Hilariously, they only give Chase Young on PFF 64 pass rush grade, and they credit him with 3 pressures and 2 sacks, 1 hurry as well. Chase was Chase. He was a guy that got upfield, was really aggressive. Mm-hmm. He allows Jaden Daniels to get some of his biggest scrambles because he can't be bothered to just stay in his freaking lane. Occasionally that works. And even on one of the sacks, it works because Jaden, instead of stepping up, tries to escape out of the back of the pocket. And Chase is sitting there waiting on him. So I don't really know what Jaden was doing on that particular one. Jaden's avoidance of pressure, I would say, is a mixed bag. Coleman in the run game just missed a lot. And I think he mostly went to the right guy. Blocking them successfully was a different deal. I don't think the O-line, they missed Biotish terribly. And it's kind of wild just to watch everyone else struggle without him out there. They're not as confident. And Cosme was really bad. So Coleman, I've got his name written down on 2 of the 8 sacks, that he's at least a significant part. But also, one of them, the second to last sack, the 7th sack, Jaden should have thrown the ball. That's not even a coverage sack. It's a quarterback sack. He's staring right. If he reads the other side of the field, there's a 3 receiver side and a 2 receiver side. Uh-huh. He reads the 2 receiver side, and Olamide Zaccheaus has a choice route, and he breaks it off inside, and he wins, and it's just hey, man, throw it. He's wide open. It might have been a slant. I don't even know if it was a choice. It might have been set up to come inside all along. Either way, he's wide open. Throw him the ball. You're staring right at him. 2, if you had read the 3 receiver slide, De'Ami Brown is wide open for a touchdown. It's a corner route, and he's butt naked. But alas, that's how it goes sometimes. And Coleman grades out at 56 on PFF. So not very good. I feel like that's pretty accurate. But the pass block grade is a 75. Run block grade's a 53. I think he was definitely worse in the run game than he was in the pass game. But definitely someone who I think was pretty interesting to watch throughout the day.
Number 2.
Brian Robinson had an interesting day as well. I actually think B-Rob played really well. The problem is he had terrible looks to run into. Logan and I were exchanging film clips this morning, and when Logan sends me, when I send Logan clips, I just screen record and send him actual film. He's got his iPad in front of him and records it and is circling stuff for me. And there's a couple where he just goes, "Where is he supposed to go?" And sometimes there's a couple "Where's he supposed to go" carries where B-Rob gets 5. Brian Robinson, his rushing grade on PFF is a 58.3. I think that's a travesty of a grade because he had terrible looks to run into all day, and he made terrible into just bad. And that hidden yardage helps you in a major way. B-Rob wasn't amazing. I think there's a couple runs where he leaves some stuff out there. That's playing running back in the league. But mostly I think the failure in the running game yesterday was much more on the offensive line than it was on B-Rob. And it would have been a lot worse had a running back not named Brian Robinson been the guy who was toting the rock.
No, I think that was perfect.
All right.
Number 3.
Number 3, Anthony, you had Bobby Wagner as your second pick, number 3 for us overall.
Yeah, I mean, before Kamara, I guess, exits the game due to the groin injury, I think we did a good job of, keeping him in check, to be honest. We didn't let him get off too much, and that was my big focal point anyway on Friday. Just, trying to make sure he doesn't, beat us because he is their only offense essentially. And I think we did a good job the first half. Second half, I think we had a few breaks actually. I know he broke one down the middle of the field, and then also the touchdown catch. Insane. That was on Luvu. But yeah, I mean, I can't really assess Bobby's play just because I don't feel like there were that many drives where, he was having too big of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, he had the big sack, so like he has an impact as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
The tight ends, didn't have huge days. They had a couple of catches. I'm gonna have to go back and watch those to see kind of who that was on. I think all in all, the defense played pretty well. Like they were well organized, and they just gave up a couple of plays later in the game that were less than ideal. And some of those might have been plays over Bobby Wagner's head, considering where they were on the field. But against the run, thought they were pretty stout, and they overall did a good job. I haven't watched the defensive tape yet, so I don't have super strong feelings here yet. But come back tomorrow, and I will have had super strong feelings based off of actually, watching the tape.
Number 4.
Marshon Lattimore is the 4th player that we had circled, and he definitely played really, really well. Grades out as a 71 on PFF. He was targeted, Anthony, 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the Saints knew what they were dealing with, and we're like, nah, we're good on that. That is tremendous consistency. It's hard not to have any kind of lapses, but it does feel also like the game plan was just purely avoid that guy. Obviously, the big test comes this Sunday because he's going to probably, if I am Washington, I probably have him follow A.J. Brown around.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they'll mix man and zone, so they're not just going to go straight man-to-man and then follow, shadow the entire day, because when you're playing zone, yeah, you can still just put him on whatever side, but typically you then just say, hey, either one. But yesterday, I feel like he played a little bit on both sides. He traveled around a little bit. So I think it's going to be fun to watch how they continue to deploy him, but very clear that it made an impact. You saw a couple different blitz packages yesterday as well. I told you that some of the safety blitz stuff might be a little bit more on. I can think of at least one play where Chin comes flying off the edge, and he blitzed a little bit more. I don't know that we've seen the Quan Martin blitz unloaded. I'll have to go back and obviously watch it. But all in all, successful debut, to say the least, in his old stomping grounds for Marshon Lattimore.
Yeah, the fact he got 0 targets, man, he earned some respect while he was down in New Orleans. They know it. And I wouldn't throw at him at all.
Well, the thing is, this is why having Sainer still opposite is so important, because he has actual ball skills. If you're going to throw at Mike Sainer still, you're risking getting picked off. And that doesn't seem to be the thing that is possible for any other Commander's defensive back. None of them can seem to catch. The linebackers don't seem to be able to catch. But I do also think that Noah Igbenogany is in for a long month. He is going to be targeted a lot. Yeah. A lot. And he was yesterday. Made some plays, led up some plays. It's going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks. But we'd also know that, obviously for the Eagles game specifically, their top 2 guys are their top 2 guys. They are not going to be messing around with Jahan Dotson or whoever else is playing slot for them these days, just for the sake of it, for targeting Noah Igbenogany. But what happens if one of those guys lines up in the slot? I think that is something that is worth keeping an eye on.
Number 5.
All right, Anthony's last pick, number 5 in our pick 6 at 6, was Dyami Brown, Anthony. Dyami Brown.
Yeah, I had Dyami Brown. I chose him because I felt as though he was going to be the receiver that steps up. And I think he had some pretty good plays. He finished the day, three catches, 30 yards. He also had a huge 3rd down conversion, or it might have been 2nd down, get called back because of holding on the offensive line.
Correct.
So Dyami definitely showed up, and I think That's all we can like ask for him. Just be consistent. Like when your number's called, go out there and make the plays that you're supposed to make, and he did that yesterday. So I mean, we'll see how the wide receiver 2 battle like continues. It seems as though they were trying a whole bunch of guys. They had JC out there. They had Diami, of course. They had Zacchaeus, and they spread the ball around to all 3 of those guys. So somebody's got to, go out there and make more plays than the other, I guess.
I think Crowder showed a real ability to win quickly, which is really important. They don't have anybody with his level of quickness, and I think that's why in some key spots he got some looks. I mean, Luke you see signs with Luke. It's just, can he put anything together now? I think you saw a lot, OZ's best game in a while. I mean, he should have had a touchdown. He left early. That was very silly. And I don't know whether, I'm guessing that's on him versus on Diami, I think was the motion guy on that, the first motion guy to get set. But if that's on Diami, then it's actually on Jaden for snapping it too early. But I think OZ just straight up left early.
He was leaning, yeah.
Yeah, he was leaning. He couldn't hold it. He's like, I'm going to try to go. And they could have called a false start, or they just, let the play out. It's a legal shift. 2 guys moving at once. Not ideal. But I think Diami had a very loud 3 for 30, in part because some catches came in some big spots. I think he did a good job of getting vertical down the field, good job of attacking the ball and the comebacks. Like, he did the things that he was supposed to do. He also gets in there and mixes it up as a blocker. Nobody had a good game blocking yesterday. In general, like when he's getting stuck on some of the assignments he did, because like sometimes he's stuck blocking a linebacker because the tackle blocks the wrong guy. Like, there's all kinds of messed up, really intricate stuff in the run game that was not good yesterday for Washington. In general, the details were bad yesterday for Washington, and I think the receivers were part of that. But I think Diami, outside of Terry, probably was the guy who did all that stuff the best.
Number 6.
All right, last but not least, I said insert kicker here. It wound up being Greg Joseph instead of Zane Gonzalez. So the concern with Gonzalez is his plant foot. They said that he almost played. They're going to go back to him when he's healthy. Presumably that's this week. Kicking on the indoor surface makes planting a little bit trickier, I guess, than the softness of the grass. And obviously we saw Greg Joseph kick off very well, miss a field goal that then got wrapped back around. Okay, cool. Just kidding. That wasn't the end of the third. It's the start of the fourth, and your field goal is good. And then he misses the most important kick of the game late. That sucks. None of the nonsense with the clock matters. None of the 2-point conversion matters. None of that matters if Greg Joseph just makes his kick. And it's really frustrating. As for the decision, I told you earlier in the show, Anthony, I didn't really have strong feelings about it. And I actually have that validated by science now, because I went to a 4th down bot calculator and was able to put in the situation. Your win percentage, if you hit the field, or if you go for a field goal, they consider it 96%, 98% if you get it, 90% if you fail. Punt was a 95%, and even though it was 4th and 16, it was so likely you win the game at that point that go for it was also 93%, 92% if you fail, 99% if you succeed. By the way, they said the success rate 14% on 4th and 16, which feels very high. 70% success rate on the field goal. So that's the win probability goes up 1.1% by going field goal attempt. That is the biggest gap, and thus this particular 4th down bot, that it's the best that we can do for analytics, said that kicking the field goal was the right decision. But you see why it's a risk. Dude missed it, and that's why he was available.
Yeah, I mean, just over his career, though, he has been terrible past 40, Craig. It is not good when he's kicking that far. So, I don't know. Maybe they saw something in practice where they felt as though, this was a good spot for him. But
there just aren't good kickers available. Like, that's the reality of the situation. If there's a good kicker available, there's a bunch of teams that would love to replace their kicker right now. Unfortunately, they can't. But yeah, from 50 plus in his career, he is 17 for 30. So that is not great. Not great, Bob. But he had made his Only previous attempt from 50 this year when he was with the Giants.
Okay.
So it was 4-7 between 40 and 49, but 1 for 1 above 50 yards this year. Now in 2022, he was 4 of 10. The year before that, 2021, he was 7 of 9. So like talking about inconsistency, you're just hoping it's good. He's got the leg to do it.
Yeah.
But like just because you can hit it that far, like just because someone can shoot from Steph Curry range doesn't mean they should. Like the point is not that you can hit the rim. The point is like, can you actually make it in the way that like, I don't know, Steph Curry does or Damian Lillard does? Yeah. And Joseph's not that guy. So I think the other hard part is though, like your defense wasn't particularly good in the second half. If your defense was just nails the entire game, then maybe you trust him to get one more stop. But I still think I probably lean towards punting there. I'd probably just be like, let's just pin him inside the 10. But I also I'm not super mad at that decision. I'm more mad at kicking a 23-yard field goal earlier in the game. You should just go for it on 4th and 5 versus, I'm going to put that one in the 4th down bot in a second, versus that decision not to punt and when you could go up by 2 scores with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think I would have leaned towards the punt just because of the history.
Punt to win. Punt to win.
And I trust Tress.
That is also true. I trust Tress. I trust the punt coverage. Tress will just bomb it in the air. Jeremy Reeves will go down there and catch it.
Yep.
Would be nice. Hey, if Jeremy Reeves can catch, can he play some more defensive back? Because they need someone who can catch back there.